Hello, my name is Luke Mund and I'm the Digital Regional Coach for the Southeast region. Today I'm going to walk you through some ideas and strategies, tips and tricks for leading a high quality synchronous instructional session with your students. This is for small group or whole group instruction and how to run it. So the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to meet.google.com and I'm going to type in a nickname. Nicknames are very important because they give us an added layer of security. So my nickname is just Luke Mund. Many schools have their nomenclature for doing nicknames. So it doesn't really matter what nickname you have as long as you're using it consistently. When I enter the nickname here, it's going to take me to the lobby. So this is the room now, and it has opened up my room. So you can see my URL up here with this kind of gobbledygook letters at the end is my open room. Now, this room is open and available for all staff and students to join, even though I haven't joined and it's saying that no one else is there. So please be careful that when you enter your nickname, it does make your room live. I can adjust my audio and my video here, and then I can go ahead and join the session. As a teacher, you should always be the first one in. If you have co-teachers, make sure that they know that you're going to be the first one in, or you work out who's going to be the first one in so that they have moderator controls. You will see at the bottom then who is the moderator by having this little shield here. Those are the host controls. That is a new update from Google that you know who the moderator is. If somebody else is the moderator by accident, say that you have a para in your class, then you will need to close out of the meet, have everybody leave, wait 1 full minute, enter in the nickname again and rejoin. Or you could just give your students another new nickname. Just say, hey, everybody, we're going to go over to Luke Mund 1 and have everybody join there, kick them from the regular Luke Mund, and you can be the host for that session by opening it up soon. But this is the major concern that we see and get a lot of questions from as regional coaches is around who is the moderator, who has the host controls. Now that I'm ready to start class, I have a student account joining me here. Note that all students can join with their nickname or their nickname link if you know how to do that using the Meet lookup. So students can join. Outside accounts can join, so parents, outside service providers, personal Gmails for any providers that you would be having. They will need to quote unquote knock, that you will get a little notification that will come up on your screen whether to accept or deny them. Sometimes we see inappropriate names that come across the screen. Just make sure to deny those entries. They will knock, they will be able to ask to join and knock twice, and after that they will be blocked from the Meet always. So now that my students are in, I always want to start my lessons by shouting out and exclaiming my expectations and good digital citizenship with my students. So in the description of the video below, you will see 2 documents. One is this lovely document from Student Equity and Opportunity, and it walks you through expectations and managing behavior in virtual learning settings. There's some really great resources linked in here. There's great references and some ideas as to how to manage behavior in the setting. So please check that out. You can pause the video now and look at this document. Second document I want to share is this lovely 1-page infographic here of some do's, don'ts, and why they matter for conducting virtual classes. And so please read over this one again. It is linked in the description below. Please check that out. It's really awesome. Both of these should be read by every single teacher in the district and form then your expectations for your class. But always make sure that you are modeling and expressing expectations and good digital citizenship for our students. If you call it out first so that you don't let your students just drop a poop emoji into the chat, but that you are calling out those, our students are rising to the occasion in amazing ways and they're really doing great things. Yes, they're going to be students, but we can handle them in appropriate ways and make sure that everybody gets an equitable chance to engage in our synchronous learning. So when I'm ready to start my lesson, the primary thing that I do during a synchronous lesson is that I'm going to share out a lesson. So I'm going to share out resources, slide deck, seesaw activities, whatever. And the easiest way to do that is by clicking the Present Now at the bottom right. So when I go to my Meet, I go present now. I have a number of different options. Most teachers just default to sharing your entire screen, which is okay, but doesn't allow the functionality that I really like. So I recommend using a Chrome tab. When I'm using Chrome with Meet, it's like a match made in heaven. And so I go a Chrome tab. It's going to give me different ones that I can project. So I'm going to share out, say, this document with my students. I really want to walk through this expectations with my students, and so I will share it. Notice that I get this message across the top that says that I'm sharing this tab. And the cool thing about sharing a tab is that I can leave this open, my students can see this, but I can go back and I can watch my students in Meet. So I can see my students interacting, I can monitor the chat from here, I can see my students' faces while presenting. So you can see I'm presenting here. Then if I want to change what tab I'm presenting, I can click on the other tab and I go share this tab instead. Now all of my students are seeing this one and the message changes here as well. So I can continue to teach, monitor my Meet while presenting materials. This is a great way to have timers up for our sense of urgency. This is a great way to have expectations or exemplars posted for your students while they're working, and that you can still be engaging and monitoring them, but they're looking at just that tab and they don't even know necessarily that you're watching, which is pretty fun. Then whenever you're done presenting, you just hit the stop present and you will go back to our regular Meet layout. When you are presenting, you have a number of options in your settings. So I click on the 3 dots for my audio and video settings. By default, it should take you to your built-in internal camera and microphone, but you can change those to different displays here. You can see I have a number of different options on my computer right now for audio, and I have my video here as well. So you can do doc cams. In this way, you can switch back and forth between doing a doc cam showing maybe how to complete a worksheet or do handwriting practice, and then switching back to your camera so students can see your face, which is really nice. When you are doing a Meet, one person will always be the host or the moderator, and this lovely badge at the bottom left will show you visually who that person is. This is the first person in to the lobby, and this should be worked out with your co-teachers as to who's going to be the host. So if a para is the one that's going to be monitoring the chat, managing student behavior, they might want to be the first one in always, and that they can have the host control here. When you have students using the chat, this is a great feature that we have with our students, that students can drop in questions, they can give answers. You can do a simple check for understanding, that you can give them a math problem, they can drop in the answer here. You can say, hey, everybody write the word here, and you can make sure everybody's awake and listening, that they haven't wandered off or they haven't fallen asleep maybe in their home. And so you can do little checks in the chat here. Just make sure that students are using this appropriately. Again, calling out good digital citizenship from our students. Our students will rise to the occasion when you are challenging them and giving them high standards. They do rise to the occasion here. If students are doing anything inappropriate, call it out, mention it. Lay out your expectations. If you need to pause your lesson to manage the chat and what students are doing, make sure that they know that. Another issue that we can see is that students are trying to present their screen at inappropriate times. They're trying to show a favorite game or something like that. Make sure that you are on top of that and that you are monitoring it. If worse comes to worse, we don't ever really want to do this, but you can mute students by clicking on the little people here, and you can click on their name and you can mute them. This student is already muted, so I can't unmute them, or I can remove them from the Meet. This is a really big step, and just like kicking a student out of our class, this should really only be done in really big issues of safety or really inappropriate things. So please don't just kick students whenever you want. Make sure that it is for a big reason. Students will be able to knock again and ask to rejoin the Meet, or you can add them by clicking the add people, and you can send them an invite so that they can rejoin the class. So maybe students need some time out. They said something really inappropriate. You say, hey, Luke, I need you to take 5 minutes to think about that, or I need you to do a reflection forum or something like that. Then you can allow them back in. Note that if they knock twice and you deny them, then they're out of the Meet, and they will have to wait till the next class session, the next time the nickname is used, and they can rejoin then without getting an invite. When I'm presenting as well, a huge question I get from teachers is that they want to be able to see all of their students. If you go to more options, you can change your layout. By default, it's going to give you an auto set of tiles. You can change your tiles up in the amount that you have, and you can adjust how many students that you are looking at in your changed layout. And then students, when they're using their cameras, make sure that they are using them in appropriate ways and that student expectations are very clear. Note that a lot of our devices are being used at home in very personal situations. So as you have students working at home, you may not know it, but maybe there are 3 students all sitting around one kitchen table, all trying to do their work with an aunt they are trying to support them. I don't know what the situations are, but just know that if you're expecting 100% of your students to be using their camera 100% of the time, that's not really being responsive to our community and what the families are going through at that time. I know in my family right now, my wife is a full-time teacher. She's leading classes while I'm doing trainings, filming videos, hosting meetings, all of these different things. And my daughter's in 1st grade. And so she's on her own meets. She's on her own sharing out. And so sometimes we have multiple people talking in the room. And so if my daughter needs to be on mute, or if I need to be on mute, or if I need to turn my screen off so that I can help my daughter, but I'm still listening on my headphones, we don't know the situations, but please don't have expectations of 100% of your students on with their video cameras 100% of the time. That should be a goal, that we really have that by building trust with our communities, but know that that is not being very culturally responsive at this time. When students are ready to share out work, we have a number of different ways that we can do checks for understanding and make sure that our students are interacting. So you can use the chat, like I said before, for simple answers that you can have everybody drop in to the chat there, or you can use visuals. So with my students, if you have resources that you've sent home or similar things, you can throw out these visuals and then you can have everybody display it. For my daughter's 1st grade class, they all have the same whiteboard for handwriting, and so they take just erasers or magic markers, and they write on the board with their dry erase markers, and then they hold them up to the screen so that the teacher can check everybody's handwriting, because handwriting is super important in 1st grade. You can also have them hold up whatever notepads or whatever answers they're doing. You can do hand signals for checks for understanding. Everybody gives me a thumbs up or in the middle or down, whatever you want them to do. You can have everybody say, "I got it, dude," by unmuting whatever checks for understanding you want. Just make sure that you're clearly outlining those and that you are standardizing those by laying out the expectation, practicing them, and then keeping using it. The same best practices that we have in instruction in our classes are really applicable to the virtual world. We just have to know how to lay those out, explicitly instruct for our students, and make sure that they know what those expectations are. If you have any questions about high quality synchronous lessons, reach out to your regional team specialist, reach out to your regional digital coach. We are here to help you and make sure that you are having a great time with your students in the time of remote instruction, hybrid, and in person with synchronous lessons. Thank you very much.